One of the problems that folks have when they carry their lunch to work or to school is that you begin to be real repetitive. You also often don't have enough fruits or vegetables in there. So what I'm going to do today is basically an apple salad in a cup. So first thing you're going to do is get yourself an insulated container. This kind of thing works real well, and this is enough for one serving. In fact, depending on how hungry you are and how much you actually need for lunch, you could go a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Now what I'm going to do in here is use 2 tablespoons of light or non-fat raspberry vinaigrette is the one I've got. You could use other kinds of dressings as well, just whatever you have. Now that one's going in the bottom, and the next thing that's going in, I've got an apple that we've diced up. Now the size of this container is not going to take the whole thing because we have several other things we want to put in there too. Use a kind of apple that you enjoy eating. The idea of putting the vinaigrette in the bottom is that it's going to help keep the apple from turning dark because it's acidic. So you see in there that as this gets sloshed around a little bit during the day while you're taking it into the office or whatever, the vinaigrette's going to kind of come up. It's going to coat the apple enough to keep it from getting dark. The next thing we're going to put in there is 1/4 cup of dried fruit tidbits. Now these can be some that you have dried yourself. You can go to the market and buy them already diced and ready to go. If you can't find that type, you may have raisins, you may have craisins, whatever you've got, golden raisins, currants, anything will work. Now remember that 1 apple is a serving of fruit. And 1/4 cup of dried fruit is also a serving. So we already have 2 servings of produce in here. If you're working toward your 5 a day, you're well underway. The next thing that's going in here is going to give you some protein. Now these are dried filberts, or not dried filberts, just chopped filberts, but you could use pecans or walnuts. In fact, the dressing I used was actually a raspberry walnut vinaigrette, so using walnuts would really match that flavor really well. And then the last thing I'm going to put in here is as many of the greens as are going to fit. Now, you wouldn't want to put dressing on the greens early in the day because they're going to wilt. But remember, we have the dressing on the bottom, and it's got apples and dried fruit and nuts in between it. So if you can get about 1 cup of greens in here, you're doing really well. Now, everybody will probably not have this type of container that doesn't have a hole in it. A lot of the insulated containers also have a straw or a hole so that you can drink your coffee out of them. And if you clean those really well, they'll work too. But because they have the hole in them, the dressing may tend to slosh out. So what you do is you can cover it with some saran wrap or other kind of plastic wrap that's a food grade plastic wrap just over the top of it here. Then go ahead and put your lid on it, and that will keep the ingredients from coming out on your papers that you're taking or your homework. The last thing you're going to want to remember is you need something to use as a utensil. So take a fork and a rubber band and stick that around there, and there you have a wonderful lunch that'll be ready for you in about 3 to 4 hours. It's in an insulated container, so you know it's still going to be safe. It's got lots of produce in it. There's 3 servings of produce in there, so you are well on your way to making your 5 a day for the day that you take this to lunch. Remember, you can vary this. You could use pears, you could use peaches during their season, so you can really do a lot with this to be very creative, and so it's not always the same old every day at lunch.